Hey friends, hope you are all doing good. Today let's discuss about Splunk configuration files. Basically, Splunk configuration files are text-based files located under Splunk home/etc. And configuration files have an extension of .conf. The file name will be like server.conf, inputs.conf, and deployment client.conf. And what are the changes we do via Splunk web? Automatically, the configuration files will get updated in the backend. And the configuration files will have stanzas and key value pairs. How it looks like, I will show you in the next couple of slides, and you'll get a basic idea how the config file looks like. And these config files govern the Splunk functionality, controlling aspects like data inputs, indexing, parsing, searches, user roles, and deployments. Next, this is the directory structure of the Splunk, and the main folder is Splunk Home, where the Splunk software will get installed. Under that, bin, etc, where folders will be there. Under the bin, there are Splunk commands like start, stop, status. Such commands will be there in the bin command. And under the etc folder, apps, users, and system directories will be there. And the apps folder is will have a apps related stuff like search app, Splunk underscore T underscore Linux, or Splunk underscore T underscore Windows, Splunk forwarder, etc. We will cover apps folder much more detail in the coming slides. And the next one is the users folder, users like the admin and the users what we create, example Raj or any Anthony or anything. And these folders will have the config files like props, saved searches, etc. And the default folder is a system specific config files folder where the system will create while installed the Splunk. And these are the default folders. Like it will have the config files like inputs.conf, outputs.conf, system.conf, web.conf. We will cover the system and local default and local folders more detail in the coming slides. And the third one is the var folder. Under this, there's a log and library file folder. So in log folder, all the log stuff will get saved like Splunk d.log, audit.log, matrix.log, web services.log, all these logs. Complete logs we can find under var/log/Splunk folder. And the last one is the lib folder, which is the library files folder. And this library files like fish bucket, hashdb, kbstore, etc. These files will get saved in this lib folder. And these are the four files, the important files we have to configure for any Splunk project. The inputs.conf, outputs.conf, props.conf, and transforms.conf. Inputs.conf is a core configuration file that defines what data Splunk should ingest. Splunk can ingest different kinds of data from files, directories, network ports, scripts, etc. And also how that data is labeled. That will also be mentioned in the inputs.conf, like to which index, what kind of source type, to which host, like that everything will be configured in inputs.conf. And outputs.conf configures how forwarders send ingest data to indexers or other Splunk instances, primarily via TCP output groups. So the third one is props.conf. Splunk props.conf configures data parsing and processing properties at index time, such as line breaking, timestamp extraction, field extractions, and source type overrides. And the last one for now is transforms.conf. Transforms.conf defines regex-based data transformations referenced by props.conf, like enabling actions, field extraction, routing to queues, metadata overrides, and data analyzation at index time. And this is how the Splunk config file looks like. As I said, Splunk config file will have stanzas and key value pairs. Here, if you notice, in indexes.conf, default is the stanza name, and max total data size MB is the key, and the value is 6,50,000. The same way in inputs.conf, monitor is the stanza name, and source type is the key, and access underscore common is the value. This is how the config file looks like in Splunk. The next one is Splunk gave complete information in two places where we can find. If we have any doubt on the Splunk config file, we can just go through these two locations and we'll get a complete picture and we can modify according to our requirement. First one is like under Splunk Home etc system readme folder, we can get the complete data, complete info of the config files. The same way from website docs.splunk.com/documentations/Splunk. Here also we can get the complete information about the Splunk config files. The next one, as I said, like how the Splunk configuration files looks like under app folder, we'll see. This is the Splunk app is a way of organizing configuration files. It's a directory under etc apps and contains Splunk configuration files. It can also contain scripts and other necessary artifacts. And the last one is there is an add-on. It's like a lower version of the app which is not having a GUI, where application is having a GUI. In some cases, we don't need the heavyweight application to create. That time we can use these add-ons and we can reduce the burden on the Splunk. The next one, how the Splunk application directory structure looks like. You can see here, app home is Splunk home etc apps slash app name within the folder braces. That is the app name what we are going to create. For example, search app. And under this app, there are four default directories which will get created automatically. It's a bin folder, default folder, local folder, and metadata folder. Under the bin folder, we can see Python scripts for custom search commands and shell, PowerShell, batch utilities if the application provides voice level helpers. Under the default folder, default config files like inputs, props, outputs, transforms, limits.conf, etc. All these files will be under default folder. And this local folder is the customized config files folder where we will create depends upon according to our requirement. So we will we will create all the configuration files as per our project need base. Okay. And here also we'll create all the inputs, outputs, limits.conf, app.conf, whatever the files we are going to as per the requirement and the application specific. And the last one is the metadata. The metadata, there are two files, default.meta and local.meta. Default.meta defines the default ownership, permissions, and export visibility for the app's knowledge objects. And the local.meta contains the overrides of the default permissions like ownership and the export settings for knowledge objects in that app. And this is the default and local directory difference, where the default is shipped with Splunk will be overwritten upon the Splunk upgrade. File should not be updated, contains default settings, does not override local. So default config files, we can take it as a reference and we will modify in our local folder. As I said, local was created by the user, will be preserved upon Splunk upgrade. We will take the backup of the local folder and keep it aside. And once the Splunk upgrade is happened, then we will copy this local folder into the same location, and we will get all the how the earlier Splunk environment is in the newer version. That is how it will happen. And the recommended place to modify, as I said, here only in local folder only, we will modify all the config files and user specific configuration changes. Whatever we want, however what it should be, we will specify here in the local folder only. And it will always override the default. We will talk more about this precedence, folder and file precedence in the coming videos. Definitely we will cover that one as well. And for the time being, this is the difference between default and local. And all the configuration file locations for our easiness, I have created here. This is the path where etc system default, etc system local, etc apps search default, etc app search local, etc app default, etc app. Whatever the new app we create, that app name will be replaced by the app here under the braces. So suppose we want Splunk forwarder. So then the path will be etc apps Splunk forwarder default, etc apps Splunk forwarder local. And the last one is etc users, username, app name, and local. Here there is no need of default will be there because this complete path is created by the user. So here it is a customized path and that location there, so there won't be any default folder here. And the final one which we should not miss, the important point to keep in mind is never update files under etc system default folder at any cost. Okay, thank you. That's it for today.